Hello everybody, let's do a deep dive into the U.S. Senate election in Montana. This is a high-profile race where Republicans are hoping to have a pickup opportunity here, but in the past, Democrats have held on. So let's start here on Ballotpedia and get some background information. The incumbent senator here is Democrat Jon Tester, and he's running for re-election to term number 4. Prior to serving in the U.S. Senate, Tester has served as a state senator, and he has a background in farming. Since his first election in 2006, he's won by less than 4 points each time, and only in his last win in 2018 did he top 50%. His opponent on the Republican side is Tim Sheehy. Sheehy has not held political office. His background is in the military as well as business. Now, in addition to these two major party candidates, there's also going to be a Green Party and Libertarian on the ballot as well. Now, let's see how they did in their primaries. Well, Jon Tester was essentially unopposed. He got 97% with some token opposition. For Tim Sheehy, there was only mild opposition. He cleared at 73% in his primary. For a while, it was unclear who's actually going to be the nominee for the Republicans. But in the end, Sheehy essentially cleared the field and he won without really breaking a sweat. Now let's go down here and see how this race is rated. As of the last update on October 15th, Cook and Larry Sabato have it at lean Republican. Decision Desk feels a little bit stronger. They have it at likely Republican. And Inside Elections feels a little bit weaker. They have it at tilt Republican. My own most recent rating at the beginning of the month was lean Republican. Going back to the beginning of the year where it was unclear who's going to challenge Tester on the GOP side, I did have Tester as the extremely narrow favorite at the time. Once Matt Rosendale dropped out, Sheehy became the nominee, and it became clear that he was not a weak candidate. Then it seemed like the state is going to be red enough to where Sheehy should be the small favorite. Down below here, we've also got campaign financing. Tester's has not been updated through the third quarter, but he does have a pretty big cash advantage. Now, Sheehy is very wealthy. He has self-funded some of his campaign. So in this type of a race, because Donald Trump is expected to carry the state by double digits, Jon Tester is going to need a lot of crossover support with independents and Republicans. But it is more of an independent or libertarian-minded state, so the issue of abortion is going to be important. That's likely to be the weakest spot for Sheehy. There's also been claims from the Tester side that Sheehy is not really a Montanan and he's more of a carpetbagger. Tester definitely has more roots in the state, but I would think Tester should focus more on Sheehy being out of touch for his level of wealth. Now for Sheehy, he's younger than Tester. He's got a lot more issues on his side, including immigration and inflation. He's got a strong military background and he's built up a business. Plus, he could bring up how Tester is more of a career politician. He's been in office for a long time. Has Montana really gotten better during his tenure? So there's some stuff there for each side. You can't count Tester out, but it's a red enough state to where he's probably the underdog at this point. Now let's take a look at some of these counties and see how they've trended on a presidential level. The shading here does not indicate the margins. This just shows you how often they voted for the Democrat or the Republican in the past 3 presidential elections. The most populous county, which has Billings, is going to be Yellowstone. And this county supported Donald Trump last time by 24 points. It's a little bit narrower than it was in 2016, so not significant movement in this county. Another county that has a lot of population is Gallatin, and this is a blue county. It went for Biden last time by almost 8 points. That's up from 1 point in 2016, and before that it was red. Romney won this by 5 points, so that's some clear movement there toward the Democrats. There's a number of reasons that could be happening. It could be college students. It could be because it's partly known as a resort destination. Either way, this is going to be a key county for Tester. He's got to get that margin way up into double digits. Another population-heavy county is going to be Flathead, and this is going to be one where Biden last time did better than both Hillary in 16 and Obama in 12. Meanwhile, Trump was very similar to his margin in 16, but he did a little bit worse than Romney in 12. And one other blue one we'll take a look at here is going to be Missoula. Biden again doing the best last time of the 3 most recent Democrats. He's topping 60%. Meanwhile, Trump was pretty much flat under 37%. Now, there's a few other blue counties on here. Many of them have sizable Native American populations. That should be friendly territory for Tester, but there's going to be far more of these deep red counties. Now, there's not many people who live here, but this is where Trump has significantly run up his margins, especially in the eastern part of the state. Garfield here is one of the most lopsided counties in the country. Trump ahead here by a staggering 89 points. Now, let's see how Jon Tester did in his last win in 2018. And keep in mind, that was a blue wave type of national environment, but he did top 50%. Matt Rosendale was under 47. If we go to Yellowstone, where Trump won by 24, here it's a dramatic shift. Rosendale won it by less than 5. In Gallatin, Biden was at 52. Tester bumped it all the way up to 59. In Missoula, Biden was almost at 61. Here, Tester does about 7 points better. He's at almost 68%. And in another red county of Flathead, Trump was at 64, Biden 34. But Rosendale pulled in 56. Tester pulled in 41. So there's a clear shift here in this race when you compare it to president in 2020. There's a lot more red vote out there. He might have been saved by the national environment, but Tester was the guy to win this race. But that's what it's going to take for him to pull off another win here. Meanwhile, Sheehy really only has to do just a little bit better here than Tester in 18. It's true there's new people moving into the state that could potentially have some impact on some narrow races. But this is a good battle, and it's a must-win state for the GOP if they're looking for Senate control. Now let's move along here and take a look at their official campaign websites. Here's Jon Tester's. If you want to meet him, see where he stands on the issues, follow his campaign, or support his candidacy. And then here it is for Tim Sheehy. This is another one where you've got to click on the top right, but then you can navigate around his site if you want to see what he's up to, buy some of his merch, or donate to his campaign. Next, let's move along here and take a look at the endorsements. Now, these are all after the primary, and I'm sure there's a lot more that are listed that are not on this Wikipedia page, but Tim Sheehy's got it from Tulsi Gabbard, then he's got some Republican governors, and then the NRA. Tester's got some Republicans that have endorsed him, including the governor from the 90s. This is going to be key to Tester's campaign. He's not going to win on Democratic support alone, so he's got to make sure he focuses on more of a populist type of campaign. He can't alienate too many voters. Now, what about any debates? Well, we already had two of them, one in June and one at the end of September. It was good to see both of them get on stage. I thought they were good debates. The links are right here. Take a look at them if you're interested. Now, let's go down here and take a look at the current polling. Right now, in the aggregate, Tim Sheehy is ahead by 6.8. It's a little bit higher on 270 to win. It's a little bit lower on 538. The most recent individual polls all have Sheehy ahead. Now, some of these pollsters are going to have alignment with Republicans, so it's going to be key to take a look at more as we get closer to the election. But even the most recent one here from Siena College, that has Sheehy up 8 points with likely voters. It's not going to be the easiest state to poll, but once you add all these up, this is why most of the prediction outlets have moved this state into the Republican column. Next, let's compare this to the polling accuracy in 2018. So Tester was over 50, Rosendale was under 47. In the final polls, for the most part, Tester's support was very close. Trafalgar here was actually probably the closest, but aside from the one from Change Research, the polling in October did underestimate Rosendale's support by a few points, so it looks like Tester did not get a big surge from the late breakers. Finally, let's take a look at the poly market for this race. Right now, the Republican Tim Sheehy is favored to win with 81%. Jon Tester, the Democrat, is at 20%, so that's a decisive advantage there for Sheehy where people are putting their money. But it's also not a totally insurmountable landslide for Tester. So with all that said, what's the conclusion here for Montana Senate? Well, Jon Tester has been durable. He's won 3 elections before, but the margins were not at all significant. Plus, they were probably in more favorable environments. But he's a good fit for the state. He seems to relate pretty well to enough voters. But unless there's a big miss in the current polling and there's a late surge for his support, it seems pretty clear that he could very well go on to lose this race. Now, Sheehy is probably going to rely on Donald Trump at the top of the ticket to boost him over the finish line if it's close. Trump won the state last time by 16 points. Is Tester really going to be able to get that much crossover support? It does seem pretty unlikely. So Sheehy's turned out to be a better candidate than I thought earlier in the year. Definitely better than Matt Rosendale was in 2018. But Sheehy could have some baggage here on abortion, how connected he is to the state, and his level of wealth that might be unrelatable for some voters in the middle. So it looks like most things are favoring Sheehy at this point. But Big Sky Country is a unique state. There's a lot of land here. You might see a few different issues here than you would in some other states. So we'll see if the Republicans can lock this one down or if there's going to be another embarrassment for them and Tester somehow hangs on. So that's a look at this Montana Senate race. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about the status of what's going on here? Is Tester the underdog? Is Sheehy going to win by 5 or 10 points? Or is there going to be some late movement? Tester's being undercounted in the polls. And once everything is counted, he's still going to win by a couple of points. Which parts of the state are you looking at the most? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.